Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to read you an article. CNN joins other networks criticizing President Biden for denying press access to cover and report on a story, a crisis that's taking place in let's say, the southern geographic region of our country. Now, for the record, I voted for President Trump for a number of reasons, primarily because of foreign policy, to bring Americans home from never-ending conflict and counterinsurgency quagmires. This is the greatest moral dilemma we face as a country. We should not leave Americans in harm's way forever as chess pieces to ensure that other countries or other groups don't go at it. That is not what the United States, that's not what we should be doing as a country. And we also, from Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld to President Obama, in numerous countries, our foreign policy has led to catastrophes, not only for a great many courageous men and women that we've sent, but also for people in other countries. Devastating outcomes, human beings being bought and sold because of President Obama's NATO intervention. That's a direct result. If President Obama engaged in that type of foreign policy, it would be never-ending. I mean, he would be impeached, and rightfully so, but not the case with a Democrat in office. Now, that being said, I support President Trump, but I'm liberal on immigration. I'm happy, hopefully, dreamers become citizens. H.A. Goodman wants dreamers to become citizens, okay? So, I'm not like, there's this absurd, manufactured, fabricated, conjured up image of a supporter of President Trump. But that's what the Democratic Party wants you to believe. A great many people like myself liked Bernie Sanders back in the day. I used to be the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post, and the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. I support President Trump, like I said, primarily because of foreign policy and other reasons as well. Signed an executive order combating anti-Semitism on college campuses, signed the First Step Act, prison reform legislation, allocated more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever. I would love for somebody who thinks that Trump is a bigoted individual to explain how this type of individual would do the good things that he's done, with HBCUs, combating the executive order, a lot of things that he's done that he never gets credit for. Being the first president to step foot in North Korea to begin détente between North and South Korea, President Moon Jae-in of South Korea stated that Trump deserved the Nobel Peace Prize. Abraham Accords. The countries of Israel and South Korea have stated to the Biden administration that they want the Biden administration to continue President Trump's foreign policy. Foreign policy, not Facebook ads or Twitter bots or, election interference. Foreign policy entails the successes and the achievements and the goals and objectives that were attained by President Trump's administration. But anyway, there's a crisis. So I'm liberal on some things, like immigration. But there's a crisis at a southern geographic region of the country. By the way, the same facilities are being used, the same facilities that AOC likened or tried to compare to a time in human history that she has no business talking about, where Yad Vashem in Jerusalem refuted her revisionist history on the subject, said learn more about the topic, tried to make these absurd analogies and moral equivalencies, and that it was more detrimental to historical record than any monster that Democrats and media focus on, or monsters. If I'm speaking I'm naturally long-winded, but I'm speaking in roundabout terms because I want to start talking about things that I normally don't. But I have to do so, that I normally don't talk about, I have to do so in a very long-winded manner. But hopefully you stick around and listen to my long-winded explanation. TV commentators noted the network's apparent shift in tone. The crisis is even so bad that CNN is now going after the current administration. However, let's just here's the context. Okay, hit subscribe to this channel right now. Share this segment everywhere. It's a very important segment. They have to report. I mean, CNN and MSNBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post, they have to report on calamities and crises. And, you know, they have to, they just can't not report on them. They have to report on them. Okay? The media is being barred or prevented by the current administration in the White House. That's obvious. President Trump is right. Trump slams Biden over crisis, accused him of, causing a whole lot of catastrophes. Now, it's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that all of this is taking place right now. You have to look at Biden's administration and the Democratic Party and media's complicity in all of this. The fact that, here, CNN, reporters call out President Biden's administration for lack of transparency. Here's the issue. The moral condemnation, the hysteria, the frenzy. Hit subscribe to this channel, by the way. Share this segment everywhere. The grandstanding, the accusations, you know, AOC looking into the horizon where you kind of don't see what she's looking at deliberately because it has nothing to do with what she compared the facilities to, which is why Yad Vashem in Jerusalem completely refuted what she stated, which that whole episode I wrote about in the Jerusalem Post. Read my op-ed. That's on hagoodman.com. I wrote about that. Okay? Democrats always try to compare everything, and the early 2000s Republicans did this, to a certain moment in history that has no comparison. It was the height of human cruelty and barbarism and atrocity and evil. So you can't. Democrats love to utilize a certain time period because they lack arguments. They lack an argument. So when they say, "Well, Trump is reminiscent of," they lack an argument. They have to engage. When there's a person who engages in pure hyperbole, and they level insults, and they hearken back, or they try to, compare what somebody is saying to a certain time period where millions upon millions upon millions of human beings perished because of a monstrous, truly nefarious, like the words, the depths of you can't describe in words the nightmare, the immorality, the destruction. You just can't compare. There's no words to truly explain. If I were to read a history book on the time period, that wouldn't even be allowed on YouTube policies because the horror is so obscene of what took place. The monstrosity of what took place is too much for any algorithm. And here you have AOC comparing facilities that Biden now uses, that Trump used, that President Obama built, or utilized at least, to that time period, and where no moral outrage now. There's a crisis taking place. And the rebuttal is, well, it was building under President Trump. They did the same thing when President Trump presided over record low unemployment. They said, well, the economy was doing well under President Obama. It's like everything good is attributed to Democrats when they're not in power. Everything bad is attributed to Trump when he's no longer in the Oval Office. But now it really doesn't matter if... Because one MSNBC pundit said, oh, yeah, he thought he got Dan Crenshaw. He was using not even the statistics from the government, statistics that were utilized by an organization. So it wasn't like directly from the government statistics. But anyway, You can say, well, it was building up during President Trump's administration. Yeah, but the numbers, people are now flowing into that region of the country at a pace that is too much for this country to handle. I am liberal on immigration, but President Trump made a lot of valid points. What happened was he explained them in a crude way in 2015, and then media just ran with it and said any mentality that's associated with what Trump was saying and explained in a crude manner is linked to this euphemism and that theory and this and everything horrible on the planet. So Democrats really don't have an actual rebuttal to things that President Trump did or said. They just equate everything he does to political theories that are not that have nothing to do with President Trump. They created this word called Trumpism. It doesn't exist. It's just another way to disparage people who voted for Trump. 74 million Americans didn't vote for him because he appeals to base emotions. You have to be a complete imbecile if you believe this. You have to be the most narcissistic, egotistical, political, operative, which we have a great many political operatives. They just vote blue no matter who. They'll believe anything that media tells them, because in their minds they're like, well, if media is saying it, it's reality. It's like, no, that's not the case. The Steele dossier was not reality. It was fabricated and conjured up and created simply because Clinton and the DNC purchased it. They literally purchased negative stories on Trump. The Washington Post the other day fabricated quotes attributed to Trump. They do this all the time. But here, you can look, and it's like the crisis that's going on is a serious issue. People are entering, and it is something where media in general, they're complicit because they don't treat this story the way they would have treated the story under Trump. With Trump, he's an authoritarian, despot, monster. Biden is just, he has to deal with what Trump gave him. Has nothing to do with Democratic policies leading to this. Has nothing to do with a narrative or a message that may be compelled. Notice how Democrats never compel anyone to do anything, but Trump always compels others. Democrats, their words, their media narrative never, motivates anyone to do anything. Whether it's what's taking place or really bad things, nothing. It's Trump's words. They have no evidence at all that the heinous atrocity that took place recently had anything to do with Trump. But they keep playing things that Trump said. Granted, what Trump said was crude, but it wasn't like there's a reason why people commit crimes, whether they're mass atrocities and it has nothing to do with laws preventing them from obtaining, from obtaining this or that. They're already intent on committing the most egregious atrocities known to man. You think maybe they would circumvent the law to obtain what they want to obtain? Am I speaking in algorithmically friendly terms at this moment? Of course I am. But what I'm trying to tell you is media is kind of getting a taste of its own medicine, pertaining, for example, they wouldn't touch Biden's son's laptop with a 10-foot pole, but they're also saying, hey, let's try our best not to judge or condemn or pontificate, while at the same time, and we do have to report on this, oh, that's right, Biden's administration isn't allowing us. So what do? So they're going to complain right now. And as things get worse, they'll say, hey, you know what? It is lucrative, so we might as well really report on the horrendous, already Biden's administration is worse than anything that took place. You can look, the family separation, that was horrible. I condemn that, okay? But President Trump stopped that. What happened in President Obama's administration with the Senate report was even worse, was even more atrocious. Read the Senate report. I can't right now because it's not part of YouTube policies. I'm trying my best. Ladies and gentlemen. And if you understand my personality and the way I communicate, you'll pretty much get everything you'll pretty much understand me completely. But I'm trying to speak algorithm. But what I'm saying here is Democrats preside over worse than Trump, both in terms of foreign policy and domestic policy. And you can look at the Senate report during President Obama's administration where he handed human beings to the most monstrous people. You can look at what's taking place right now. Unfortunately, there are very likely really, poignant and horrible tragedies taking place just because of the influx and the lack of resources that we've had, which, by the way, Democrats are complicit. So, is it entirely Biden's fault? No. Was it ever entirely Trump's fault? No. Is media now in a pickle? Are they caught between a rock and a hard place? Yeah. Because now media needs to what are they going to do? They have to report, but they can't condemn and judge. So now what do? Give me your thoughts below. They're essentially backing Trump. CNN is essentially backing Trump. Hit subscribe right now. I'll be back later this evening. Thank you so very, very much. I might do a live stream tonight. Thank you.